Welcome to UGASports Live Instant Practice Reaction. I'm here with Jed May. My name is Rodney DeBulsey. Kirby Smart's yelling at people in the background. Luckily, you guys can't hear what he's saying because they don't like us to record that, so we don't. You and I watched the defense today. If you're a follower of our channel, you saw our offensive preview the other day where we talked about what we've seen from the offense. What did you see from the defense that stood out to you today?
A couple small injury notes. Gabe Harris, outside linebacker, was in a black jersey. Chris Peel, who I believe had a labrum surgery at the end of spring, he was in a black jersey. And then Ellis Robinson, the freshman cornerback, who it sounds like got a little dinged up in the open practice the other day. He had a wrap on his right arm, wrist. It was hard to tell exactly how far it went up. Looked to be fine. He was going through drills. He was tackling, that kind of stuff. So
just in case you missed it, Ellis Robinson, five-star cornerback, number one cornerback in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, and a guy who I don't think would shock anybody to see him on the field at some point this year. So, but he looks fine. Other than that, the DBs and safeties, it was funny. Kirby was talking about, or actually it was Glenn Schumann today was talking about how corners need to be able to get off blocks on the perimeter, tackle. Safeties and corners were working on tackling today. Safeties specifically were like engaging with a guy, getting off, making a tackle. So, at work, what they were talking about earlier there, we saw Jordan Hall and Warren Brinson, two guys who were kind of dinged up. They were working on the side.
Two of your interior defensive guys.
Yes. And speaking of, Jalen Walker was somebody who Glenn Schumann talked about today. They're looking to maximize his talents. He was with the outside linebackers when we were out there today. Obviously a guy who goes back and forth. He plays some of both. But during the, 10, 12 minutes we were out there, he was with the outside linebackers.
What a group.
Yeah, very impressive. I mean, Quintavious Johnson is a guy who,
jeez,
when Georgia signed him was probably like, we'll probably redshirt next year, got some time to develop, he's got a ceiling. He looks great. He looks fantastic. And he's I guess farther down the depth chart than your Mykel Williamses and Damon Wilsons of the world. So yeah, that's a first off the bus group for sure.
We had a good answer from Glenn Schumann talking about his outside linebacker group, and he kind of went through each one, especially like the three freshmen last year. Two of those guys were 5 stars that you signed. And he kind of went back and forth, so check that out. But I thought that, when you're seeing Gabe Harris and Sam Mpemba, they were impressive. But again, when you look at number 99, it was JJA. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I'm like, who is that? That's JJA. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, yeah, no, JJA. I'm like,
yeah.
Specimen, and then Quintavious Johnson, a guy, people didn't talk about him a whole lot. When I went to see him, he was playing quarterback, playing, defensive end. That is, like you said, that is a specimen, looks great on the hoof. That whole outside linebacker group, I'm running them out there before Georgia takes the field. So normally you send out your specialists, right? Mm-hmm. Normally you send out your
nobody knows what that
nobody
is.
Knows. So normally you send out, your field goal kickers, your snappers and stuff. I'm sending out the outside linebacker grouut, and then let everybody just kind of go like, what are those guys?
Yeah. And another guy I was impressed by today, Justin Green, the defensive lineman, who wasn't super talked about, didn't get here till the summer. He looks in really good shape, like slimmed up, almost looks more like I envisioned him as like a 3-tech type. He looks more like a 5-tech pure defensive end to me. And again, that's another guy I saw him today. I'm like, who is, I think he's wearing 91. Who is 91? Oh, it's Justin Green. So yeah, it's a very impressive looking team, which when you stack class on class on class like Kirby Smart has, this is the result you get as an impressive looking bunch of dudes. We
also saw Janelle Aguero, and we were kind of worried, not worried, but we're wondering what's going on at the star spot. Mm-hmm. It's kind of up in the air since Tykees Smith left. We had 2 different coaches today talk to us about how Janelle Aguero is doing everything we asked. He looks good. They raved about him. That's the only way I can put it. He did not look like a guy this is his first year potentially starting. Mm-hmm. We were watching the drills in the indoor. He definitely was making the calls, confirming and stuff. But it was individual stuff, and he looked really good. Like I said, Ellis Robinson, had the rap, but he's learning. Mm-hmm. It's tough. Mm-hmm. And you got to think about it when you have Dalen Everett on one side, Julian Humphrey on the other, Daniel Harris, and that's kind of a 1-2, 2-1, 1A, 1B type
1A, 1B, 1C, yeah, for sure.
If you can put Robinson on the other side, and not to say that he's 1A, 1B, but he learns from Dalen.
Yep.
You're going to be set at cornerback. So this is going to be a tough group to throw on. Dan Jackson was basically working as the number 1 safety. I'm sure he will be there for a while. but there are going to be a lot of guys nipping at his heels. Now, they lost David Daniel, but KJ Bolden.
Yeah, I saw him today, and he was one of the guys who, when I saw him in high school, was the guy that you wondered how he would react to the physicality of college, I guess. Just because he's not the biggest guy in the world.
No.
He looked good today, in those drills I was talking about earlier, the shed a blocker and go make a tackle. He had a good rep in one of those today. So, again, that's a guy who he's depth right now, but he could be a significant contributor, whether it's against Clemson or as we get later in the season, that Kentucky game, Alabama game, a few games in.
Another guy I thought who we don't talk about in that first group. Kind of like, it's tough to start talking about Ellis Robinson in that first group. You got 3 good cornerbacks for 2 spots. You also have some very talented inside linebackers. You got 3 right now that everybody's talking about for 2 spots. So you got Smile Munden, who's still recovering. So it's been C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson. We've heard great things about Raylan Wilson all summer. About how great he looks. And one guy's like, oh, he looks to me as good, if not better, than C.J. Allen. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I know they're in shorts. Slow down. But I asked about Troy Bowles earlier today, and I forgot that he was more of a secondary player than he was an inside linebacker. And so Clint Schumann, of course, corrects me. Like, or didn't correct me. He put it in perspective. Troy looks great.
And a guy with that kind of skill set gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of, do you even play him as a star in some kind of situations, red zone kind of stuff. Now, I'm obviously not a defensive genius like Travaris Robinson called him Rain Man earlier today, but again, a guy with that kind of skill set is very unique as an inside linebacker. And when you got him like that, you can kind of like the opposite of Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker can rush the passer and play inside. Troy Bowles can maybe cover in space more than your typical inside linebacker. So just another versatile guy they're going to figure out a way to use.
So offensively, we didn't watch too much offense, but we spoke to some of our other guys. A little injury news there.
Yeah, we saw center Jared Wilson. Actually, right before the end of the media portion, we were inside, and a big dude in 55 comes past us. Like, hey, that's Jared Wilson. So I was kind of jogging, looked okay, getting some conditioning in. He didn't have a black jersey on, so if I had to guess, I would assume he would be back out there later today, maybe in 11-on-11 stuff. Maybe not.
No, I mean, he didn't go through the practice, the open practice on Sunday. So he was apparently on a bike for that. So he's obviously got something that's bugging him, and they're not quite ready to get out there, which means Tate Ratledge is doing a lot of work at center. I love the idea. If Tate can be a center. Now, here's the thing. I've got no reason to believe he can't be.
Right.
But if you take was he first team All SEC?
Got to be.
Yeah, first team All SEC guard, and you move into center. Like, well, you're hurting your guard spot. No, because you got a Dylan Fairchild, you got a Micah Morris. Micah Morris may be the strongest pound-for-pound offensive lineman on that group, just moving people, and that's saying a lot when you got Ernest Green beside him. You can put Dylan Fairchild out there, a state champion wrestler I don't think he gave up a sack. And you have Tate in the middle making the calls, who's seen so much SEC football. Remember, this guy's supposed to start against Clemson years ago.
And he got 3 years ago. No.
Yeah, got hurt right off that. Well, I think he was a freshman or something like that.
Redshirt freshman,
Redshirt freshman, yeah. So this is a guy who's seen a ton of football. He's not going to be surprised by making the calls, and that's not a shot against Jared Wilson. It's just Jared's been groomed to be the center. Tate hasn't. If Tate can pick it up, that gives Georgia even more mixing and matching that they can do. Of course, Drew Bobo would be in the mix there as well. But I'm just thinking with those 3, and what really got me excited was listening to our colleagues at UGASports talk about the running backs. Like, Branson Robinson.
Yeah, the wide-eyed stare of, and again, you can make the argument that Branson Robinson might not be the most physically imposing guy in that room, because you've got 235-pound Roderick Robinson in the same room. And then you've got Trevor Etienne, who's a home run threat. You've got Chauncey Bowens, who's a big dude. Nate Frazier's an all-around guy. Dwight Phillips, who has world-class speed. There's just every guy brings their own skill set to that group for sure.
The other guy they were talking about was Nate Frazier. Apparently, I think he was in a black jersey.
Black jersey is what Patrick said, yep.
Keep an eye on him. He's number 3. Go ahead and get the Frazier jersey. I'm making my call now. It's not a shot against Phillips.
Repurpose that Todd Gurley jersey.
Yeah.
It still fits from 10 years ago.
There you go. And also some good, I would say good reviews, but they also left impressed with Ryan Puglisi.
Yeah, a guy that, and I think it might have been you that said it, or maybe Patrick, but a guy that just looks like a future NFL quarterback. Big guy, rocket arm.
Yeah.
Again, more, I think this was, Patrick, I said this, more like more built out, more thicker than I think a lot of people thought he might have been coming in.
Yeah.
And once he got past that, knee issue, stress fracture, mystery injury he had in the spring, if he doesn't have a brace on, or he didn't the other day, I didn't look at him today. I assume he doesn't.
No, he didn't. First day, he was no brace.
Yeah, so he looks good to go. Obviously, there's guys in front of him, talented guys in front of him, but he looks like a star for the future for sure.
Don't let the Avon Old Farms high school resume fool you. He's pretty good. All right, that's all the time we have for our little recap here. Be sure to tune into UGASports.com. We have all of our practice observation notes. Check it out and hit the subscribe button on this YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate it. Take care.